Okay, welcome everybody to Knowledge Bites webinar, which is a part of the Southern Vermont Economy Project. The Southern Vermont Economy Project operates across Southern Vermont to help build capacity for organizations to do important community projects that support regional economic development goals. So this is our yearly webinar when we have the great pleasure to make a call for you to submit your projects to our process, to the CEDS, and also potentially for consideration for regional priority project lists. What we'll do today is go through what is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, just a little refresher what that is, why we ask for projects, what those goals are that your projects are most likely in alignment with, and also then kind of go through how this parallel process with the sorry, I'm just going to mute people. Sorry, you're not coming in muted. I apologize. That was my settings. So how there's a parallel process with submitting to the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy that dovetails into the Regional Priority Project process, which is a state level process. So I am here today with my esteemed colleagues. We have Laura Sibilia from BDCC. Also, Owen Perry is here. We have from BCRC, Jonathan Cooper. And these are all people who will be able to help you if you need help with your project submission. So we will be sure to share everyone's contact information and make this process productive for everyone. So without further ado, yes, go ahead.
Neil. We also have Neil Goldberg, who
Neil's here too. Sorry, Neil. Yes, there you are. Yes, so Neil and Owen on our end will be most able to help with regional priority projects. And then Laura and I can help with the just CEDS projects in general, CEDS implementation questions overall, and then Jonathan Cooper with Bennington County projects and questions as well. So from there, let's jump in. Okay, so I think this is you.
Okay,
Laura.
so yes, so for your projects, you have two paths and we have one form that can help you get there. So your CEDS projects are projects that show alignment with our region's economic development strategy. That's our 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy. It is open. CEDS projects are open to all project stages. The number one rule with a CEDS project is simply that it cannot be what we call a somebody oughta, meaning it has to be this is my project and here's what I'm doing. It can be in its initial stages. That's okay. And helpful, actually. That is open to all of Southern Vermont, and those projects are welcome, and we will be reaching out to folks as well. RPP projects are projects that are prioritized by the state of Vermont using the regional development corporations, and they're prioritized for funding readiness. The RDCs are based in Brattleboro and Bennington. So that Jonathan will be your RPP project contact for Bennington County, and Neil and Owen will be your contacts for Windham County. Those RPP projects have a much higher threshold of readiness in order to make the RPP list. Those are further along in their planning and they require more detailed planning and financial information. Next slide. Okay, so just briefly, the CEDS is a comprehensive economic development strategy. It is a federally prescribed process that Windham and Bennington counties do together for what is called the Southern Vermont Economic Development Zone. That's the area that is covered by BCRC and BDCC and Windham Regional. It is, as I said, a federally prescribed process. The last one was completed in 2024. Requires us to do a SWOT, to establish goals and a resilience strategy. And also, it needs to be a very public process. That SEDS is also required for designation as an economic development district. Those are formal partners with the federal government. The SEDS is fully updated every 5 years, and your projects need to align with that document. It makes them less risky if your project is aware of and aligned with our SEDS, less risky for federal funding or partnerships. And I have yet to see a project that is unable to align itself. It just really requires little effort, and we're here to help. You can find the SEDS at the address listed here. And again, where there's an executive summary there, there's also the full document there. Next slide. Okay, the SEDS has a list of objectives and strategies that were developed with a steering committee, with our consultant who was Camoin last time, and as I said, with public input. Each year, the SEDS is updated with a list of regional projects that demonstrate how they help advance the plan's stated objectives. So your project is a valuable, potentially, piece of implementing the SEDS. No one entity implements the SEDS. The partners, BDCC and BCRC, every year we put out a call for project submissions so that we can learn about new projects and also so we can get updates from previously submitted projects. Okay, now I think we hand it to Jonathan.
Jonathan, here we go. We're gonna.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jonathan Cooper at the Bennington County Regional Commission. The way that we get through our SEDS to get a sense of how it matches up with the projects that you're doing is through the narrative that's in the intake form, along with where you'll identify the ways that your project meets the strategies that have been outlined in 4 big objectives that have to do with our SEDS. So I'm going to go through each of these objectives and the strategies therein. And the idea is that as you're thinking about your projects now, or other projects around Southern Vermont, you can see how, that aligns with this, or that aligns with that strategy. And projects often align with more than one. That's generally the case. So you don't have to align with all of them. These objectives are in no particular order, but as you can see, addressing our critical population needs for the future is one that is being discussed all over the state right now. So we have 4 strategies that we articulated there that projects may align with: investing in community assets that are attractive to young people. And we'll say here that we don't define young people beyond young, but we do live in a state with the highest median age. It's over 41. And so go from there. Strategy 1B is pursuing targeted attraction efforts of those with needed skills. From our nurses to our diesel mechanics, we have a lot of identified places on workforce positions where we need individuals with skills. Some strategies are looking at bringing in people with those skills to contribute to our economy. We are looking to foster population growth that supports our regional workforce and economic alignment. You can imagine that some of the projects that are floating around now, for example, a potential residency program for for internal medicine at Southwestern Vermont Healthcare, is moving in a way that we need to move to bring in more care to our region. Strategy 1D continues to support policies that improve and strengthen the care and education systems. Now, the one I gave for 1C would also be checking the box for 1D. Here, care is sort of the new term for going to the doctor, and that's from pediatric to geriatric and everywhere in between. That's an important need that's been identified for our region, and we want to make sure that our education systems as well are seen as 2 pillars that our sort of health and well-being rests upon. Our second objective, to empower businesses to thrive long-term, is the sort of objective you would see in a SEDS. We want to enhance the business potential for growth. We want to strengthen our entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem. I thought we had a 2C. We want to establish a collaborative regional workforce development system. Now, one project submission entity may not be taking on collaborative regional workforce development. And if you're not, that's fine. You don't need to check Strategy 2C. However, there may be some entity, maybe it's Southwest Tech, maybe it's the Wyndham Career Center, that is looking at connections with other players or actors in that space. And we want to make sure that our SEDS is able to accommodate single entity projects as well as multiple entity projects, because we need all of those. Objective 3 is really where we want to make sure that who we are as Southern Vermont and some of our values are really showing up. We want to foster resilient and adaptable communities because there are dozens of them across Southern Vermont, and we want all of them to experience resilience in all its forms. The first strategy is to invest in infrastructure and system upgrades to adapt to environmental impacts. That's something that we're seeing more and more in more multifaceted ways, but strong infrastructure leads to strong communities. We want to increase housing options for all incomes and ages. And I think all across the region, we're seeing, and through the legislature, we're seeing programs that are trying to help galvanize those investments. We want to improve civic and community engagement. That's something that also keeps communities together as they endure challenges or trials that need resilience and adaptation. We want to enforce our region's recreational and cultural opportunities, the things that we're known for, the things that we prize. You can see that this objective is very broad. It is both underground in the pipes and it is on the stage in the theater. The whole idea is that much of what this objective addresses are ways that we can stick together and adapt when we need to. And finally, we want to promote regional economic development cooperation. That's what's gotten us to this point. This is the third iteration of a SEDS that began strictly as Wyndham County and has expanded to include Wyndham and Bennington County. And that promotion of regional economic development is essential to the Economic Development Administration, which the federal entity that we submit this SEDS to. It's essential for them to see that regionalization, that regional cooperation as a part of what we do, because that's a part of what they look to support. So we want to create and strengthen structures to support SEDS implementation. That is a sort of higher level, more zoomed out regional goal, and increase access to industrial and commercial space. And this latter one is especially important because we're in an era where we have identified workforce and housing crises. And when we talk about crises, we tend to direct all of our resources and energy and attention to the crisis points. But we know that we continue to need industrial and commercial space for our economy to function well. So we really want to make sure that our SEDS captures all the kinds of spaces that we need. Third spaces, social spaces, educational spaces, industrial spaces. That's what makes for communities and economies that function in a healthy manner. So Meg, I think I turn it over to you for the next slide.
Yeah, so this is just something I do this because this is a lot of what I do is direct project TA, and people sort of ask, why should I submit my project? It feels like a lot of work. The answer is overall, you increase your visibility with regional, state, federal partners, us, people above us, beyond us, and that helps increase your access to help, technical assistance, and helps us help you know where funding resources are. So it helps us help you. It also indicates to those federal agencies and other funders that your project is aligned with our plan. So as we were saying, it develops trust in your project that it's going to be supported by all the regional and state entities. Some federal grantors actually require you to check a box that says, is there a SEDS in place and are you in alignment with it? And this helps you check that box. And it also helps you organize key information that you'll need for any and all funding applications. So we're not going to ask for anything crazy, but it will help you really organize your thoughts. We have had people say in the past, it was really helpful to them as they went on to apply for funding. So we like to think that it's just helping you understand what people will want to know about your project and getting it organized, and you can keep it, you get a copy of it and you can use it as a reference ongoing. Okay, so that's that piece. And so then this is just kind of going through, I think this is you, Jonathan, sort of the RPP list differentiating from just the SEDS.
That's right. So thanks very much, Meg. Earlier on, we talked about how our SEDS work really ties into one portion of the federal government, the United States Economic Development Administration. The Regional Priority Project List comes to another federal entity. This is the Northern Border Regional Commission, which has directed some funding to the state of Vermont to help the state really get a feel for what's going on, what are the sort of the top projects throughout each of the regions in the state. And that Laura had alluded to, that requires sort of a focus, sort of narrowing down based on some sort of commonly held characteristics around the number of jobs added, the amount of economic impact, wages paid, et cetera. So, and this also is why the Bennington list is separate from the Windham list. Each RDC compiles these separately. We have one catchment time with this project submission process, and then in May, we're able to update it. So this list gets kind of one refresh per year, one submission with one refreshing element a few months later. We need to be aligned with regional goals and priorities, so it's no surprise that we want to utilize our SEDS process, which we have put a lot of time into creating, which validates the SEDS itself so that our annual reports are not simply anecdotes, but rather a demonstration, an objective demonstration of the projects that the SEDS is able to be relevant to. But as you'll note, we're going to be a little farther along with the RPP list. That's going to be shovels in the ground, project sites, the kind of thing where if someone visited and said, "Hey, where's this happening?" you could go there and point to it, and there'd be some obvious evidence of a project that is underway. So you'll see additional criteria in the questions that are related to the RPP process, and this is how the state sort of determines its funding priorities. It's, where they're gonna go visit a region. They'd like to check in on these projects. And going back to the NBRC role in originating the funding that supports our efforts to create this list in each region of the state, it's a bit of a must-have for any Northern Border Regional Commission application. This sort of helps them bring projects into the pipeline for their particular approach, the Catalyst program or Forest Economy program. And this is our way of making sure that there's a good list to choose from and that we're able to have NBRC conversations where and when they're most appropriate. I think it's important to mention here that if you are already an NBRC project, if you're already receiving NBRC funding, you wouldn't be eligible for that until you've spent 75% of what you have already. So we have a sort of separate legacy impact portfolio to recognize those projects without utilizing one of the sort of limited number of projects here. So you need to have those retention numbers for jobs either created or jobs retained. You need to have your detailed budget. You'd imagine that kind of more project underway, shovel in the ground kind of documentation and portfolio. Ways that you can strengthen this application include a proof of site control, an engineering and design plan, permitting, permits in hand or in the works, letters of commitment from funders or lenders that may be a part of the project, and project principal experience. Those aren't things that you need to submit for a SEDS, and they may not really be applicable even for an RPP project. But if you're thinking about regional priority projects designation, you'd want to have these bullet points in mind as either documents or letters or commitments in hand. Those all enhance the scoring of an application through the RPP process, which is sort of a matrix that's based on this many points for this many jobs, this many points for this much experience in the leadership team. So that's really getting into a fine-tooth comb, which is what they need to be looking at these 120 projects from across the state.
Okay. And I don't know if we have any other additions, Owen or Neil. Good. Okay. So moving to the next slide, we're looking at the submission timeline, and let's be explicit also in saying that all RPP projects.
My cast replaced.
Hi, Meredy.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
All projects, all RPP projects are SEDS projects. All SEDS projects cannot be RPP projects. So just to kind of wrap up that last piece. The submission timeline for SEDS and RPP projects, we are accepting projects through September 18th. The RPP project review and ranking will take place in the fall, and that will be released in December of 2026. All projects will be included in the annual SEDS update and will be listed as part of the SEDS. Next slide. Who does the review and the ranking for the RPP projects? So as Jonathan noted, the RPP lists are generated by region, and the committee is developed at each regional development corporation and is made up of regional planning and economic development professionals. And yes.
I was just going to say, if anyone has questions about that, that's sort of like who will see your project, just in case you're wondering. I'm sharing this information. Where does it go?
Yes. If you are a previous submitter, next slide, and submitted a project in the past year, you should have already received an email directly from the BDCC Cognito form system that contains your previous submission and a link to edit that information. If you did not receive that email, reach out to me and we will make sure it gets to you. Okay, Meg and Owen for our form demo.
Okay, so we're just gonna run you through what this looks like in person. And if you have any questions, we can ask them. Okay, so I will now, okay, actually, hang on, let's go back. Go back to the beginning. How to get into this is you will start with, and everyone's seeing my browser now, right? Just testing, I don't know, like the magic of the internet. Okay, great. So you start at the SoVermont zone.com site is one of the ways into it. And you'll see here the SEDS. This is also where you can get yourself a copy of the SEDS. You can open it up, look at it, and just explore it. So that's there. And since you're submitting a project, we'll hit submit a project. Now we give you all the information. This should answer any questions you might have that we've also gone over in this. We just figure more information is better. Slide down and you get to the submission form, and this takes you to a form, which again has lots of information on it. And when you click on your form link that we sent you, you'll get into this form, but it will already be pre-populated with any information that you previously entered, and you can edit anything on there. If you're submitting a new project, it looks like this, you get to a new form. So you simply start by entering contact information, location, emails, things like that. These are all required. If there's a principal of your organization that's not you who are the project manager, you would enter that here, not required, but just so we know. And then this is where you will get this question here, the geographic region that your project encompasses is what will channel you into the correct setting for the RPP list. So it's automatically selected as that you don't want to include your project in the RDC priority project list. That's the default is no. And that's what you would just leave it as if you want to submit a SEDS project. So say we are going to start in, why don't we start in Bennington County, a single town in Bennington County, for example. You're from the town of Arlington, you're doing a project, here you go. If you check no, you'll simply go in and proceed with the form, which asks you to select a project category. This is optional. If you don't find yourself in here and you don't want to deal with it, we will probably just, for our own internal purposes, go in and assign you to a category that just helps us understand the categories of the projects. It's not critical. Don't lose sleep over it. You will be required to enter a brief project description, which is literally just what you are doing. Nothing, just simple. We are, digging a hole in the ground in Arlington, Vermont. That's it. That will be, 20 feet wide and 60 feet deep. That's your project description. Purpose and benefit is where you can say, we're digging this hole because, I don't know, I can't think of a good reason, but we wanted to see if there's anything down there. I don't know. So that is where you're going to say will benefit why we're doing it and how it will benefit the community can go there. So description is very simple, just what you're doing. So we understand project purpose and benefit gives us some context. Partners and investors, again, let us know who you might be working with, any investors you already have identified. Just a reminder, it's a public document, so don't share anything you don't want us to know in a public document. And then you'll select your project stage, 1 through 4. Again, the RPP projects would probably be maybe in stage 2, more likely in stage 3. Here's where you can put your timeline and milestones. This is literally overall project timeline, how long you think it's going to take. If it's an early stage project, it's okay if you don't fully know, just give us a sense. If you've already described this on another form, and you already have a piece of paper or a document that describes this, you may upload. So you would just drag your file or upload it here, and then just make a note in this required box that says, I'm uploading a file, or I've uploaded a file. See upload, whatever you want, just so that you don't have to retype it if you don't want to, or you already have it. Now you get into your alignment with the SEDS objectives. So here, if you check a box, it'll ask you how. If you don't check a box, you can just hit not applicable, and you don't have to do anything else. So just for each one of these, you just express your alignment, and then it gives you the opportunity to briefly describe that. You don't have to write a book. The character limits are pretty short. And then just a very simple budget here, cost. And again, this is not completely required if you're just submitting a SEDS project, but it does helpful to give us a sense. And then you will need to put a little bit in this project budget narrative that just talks a little bit about your project, any funds that have been identified, tell us more. And then any additional information here. Now, if you are, let us go back in time here and say, we're a single town in the Bennington County. We would like our project to be considered for inclusion in the RDC list. That is going to add some questions at the bottom here, which is going to be about job creation. So this has given us a whole new section that you'll have to give us more information. Permanent jobs, or temporary jobs, such and such. Now, let's go back in time and say that we were actually a single town in the Windham region, and we would like to have our project considered for inclusion. Now it gives you a little stop. Before you can proceed, you must answer these 2 quick questions. You must have a detailed budget, sources, and uses. So confirm that you have them. So stop here. And if you say, yes, I have that, still wants more, yes, I have that. Okay, now you may proceed. So now you get back into the form, and it's just all these questions that are the same. And now we are going to ask you a few more questions. This has been helpful for us in our region to sort of help narrow down selections. So it's going to ask you, do you have site control? Yes, no, it doesn't apply. If you have any supporting documents, you can share them. Have you completed engineering and design? Again, yes, no, does not apply. Oh, and should I be having you do this? Do you need me to have you jump in? Oh, and do you want to talk more about what all these are? And then you can just kind of what this would look like and what you're looking for from our team.
These requirements here, as Jonathan mentioned before, these are things that are strengthening your application. They might not be required for your project, and if they aren't, you can just select that. But if they are required, we ask that you indicate that and upload any document you have there that shows us that you actually have the site control or engineering. A few more of those questions through here. Ask about engineering, permitting, letters of commitment from funders. And yeah, a little bit more like the other sections. Still asking about job creation, the basics of your timeline, just a little bit more in depth.
And I'll just say some of these are optional. So the timeline and milestones are always required. Identified milestones, yes, no, or not applicable is required, but you don't have to do that. But then measurable project outcomes is something that is encouraged but not required.
Right. For the RPP projects, those are strongly encouraged. The competitive projects usually upload that.
And then project principal, yeah. So, and then you get into the SEDS objectives questions there, and it's just as it was. Does that make sense? And if you check no for the, if you get into that and you think I don't have all this stuff, you can simply go back, you check no, and you can carry on as before and submit your project to the SEDS. So those SEDS questions are the same for every submission. Checking yes just opens up the other questions. And just to show you at the bottom, I know there's no way to make this button easier to find. We tried, sorry, software limitations, but there is a save button. When you hit save, it will automatically email you a link to get back into your project, which is beautiful. I'm sorry that save button we cannot make it more obvious. It is a limitation of the Cognito form system. But if you hit save, you'll be emailed a link to re-access your project. You can get into it. If for some reason you misplace that email or that link, do not fear, we can get it for you. So you can email any of the project contacts and we will be sharing those with you. I guess I think they're also posted on the website.
And Meg,
you can email us. Yes.
what if you don't hit save? And you leave?
If you don't hit save and you leave, unfortunately, it does not auto save. So again, this is a software limitation. So my suggestion is to sort of be ready to go when you start entering it. And then just please remember to hit save. I'm sorry, we can't reduce the heartbreak on that one. But so do hit save. And also it's good to kind of be ready when you go in. And just to say that as well, on this page, you can email us and we can download a PDF of the correct version of the form for you. So just let us know who you are, what you're doing, what form you want. And we will then email you a PDF of the form and you can kind of prepare your work on a separate document if you like beforehand, so that when you're entering it into the system, you reduce the chances of needing to save and go back to it and losing your work, which we really hope does not happen. But again, there are limitations to every software. Okay, I think that's that. I'm going to stop the share and see if there's any questions at this point. Please feel free to just unmute yourself and ask a question or raise your hand or anything you like. Okay, Sue Coakley, is there a downloadable application form? Yes, Sue. So that's what I was just saying. We'll download it for you and I would be happy to send it to you. So just hit the email us button on this form and let us know which form you want and we will get it to you. Or just email us directly, no problem. Eileen asks if we have a project that is already on the RPP, do we have to resubmit it?
Yes.
Who wants to?
Yep. You do have to go. If your project's already, you can go in and make your updates. And if there's no updates, just click submit again.
Yeah. So just go in, make any updates or not, hit submit, and then it goes into our system. And then we know that you have connected with your project and that you're approving it as submitted. Jack, go ahead. Unmute and ask your question.
So is there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is there a minimum cost in the budget for this? We have a project that we're interested in. I just want to make sure it qualifies. It's one that we've gotten it's a site visit for our museum, and it would allow us to do the work to plan to expand this and to plan for the future. So it would seem to me that this falls in, but what about the minimum cost? And we have permitting and stuff that probably needs to be done. Can we get help from Owen and Neil in our area before the grant application goes in?
In terms of project development, is that your question, Jack? You need more help developing your project?
No, it would be really in terms of filling out the application, in terms of making sure that we have all the correct things in there with permitting and all the details, things that we've done to indicate we've done some of the work on that and we're ready to go. And I'm particularly interested about the cost. Is there a minimum budget that this requires?
No, there's no minimum budget to be able to submit. And if you have any questions on what to upload, feel free to reach out and I can help you with that.
Yeah. I'd also like to thank everyone. This is very informative for me and very helpful with the concise way that you present this in such an organized way. So appreciate it.
We've done it 10 or 15 times.
We're getting better every year.
Well, you've got it
Laura,
down.
Thank you. I have a question from Laura about Weston County. Yes, I mean Weston. Yes, Weston and Windsor County is part of the Wyndham region, and we usually rattle that off. We're sort of trained to say all towns in Wyndham, like we say Wyndham region because we have 3 Bennington County towns and Weston, which is in Windsor County technically, but you are in our region. Yes, we love your project. Please submit it. Sue, can we schedule a review of our prior application to get feedback and suggestions to help us strengthen our application?
So this is specifically
yes.
for RPP, I believe.
Sue,
Separate.
RPP or SUDS project?
RPP.
So Jonathan and Neil, Owen.
This is a Wyndham project.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, Sue, happy to schedule some time. So please reach out and we will get on a call and we can chat.
Great. Thank you.
Our next slide is going to be sharing everyone's contact info. Yes, I will share the slides, and yes, we'll share the recording with everyone too, so you can review it and share it with other people.
And it'll be posted on the Zone website as well, right?
It sure will. We'll post it in a bunch of places. So we'll make sure everyone can access this and access us. And actually, I'm thinking that we might be able to just upload the PDFs of the forms to the website. I'll think about that, and if it is more or less confusing than reaching out to us for them, I think we can probably make that happen and just have links to those on the Zone page. But
okay.
If not, we do have the email link. Yes, Jack, one more question?
Yeah, I had one more question. When this is done and once it's reviewed, when are those results available and how can they be interpreted? I suppose there are different priorities you assign for these, but when and how is that expressed?
So this is related to the RPP, and this is a Wyndham project.
Well, I'm interested in the seeds.
The SEDS. Yep.
SEDS.
So the SEDS, all SEDS projects, as long as it is your project, Jack, it's going to be included. And so we will announce and help publicize that you have a project alongside the ranking of the RPP projects in December.
Okay, so there's no ranking of the SEDS projects then per se.
There's not.
Not this year.
And they are all included.
So once we have that, what are the actions we take with our funders and whatnot to try to get them funded as the next step?
So once your project is included in the SEDS, when you are applying for certain types of federal grants or even state grants, you should reference that this project helps to implement a publicly created, federally accepted economic development plan in Southern Vermont. And you can link to it. And I think, Jonathan, you want to add anything?
I'd love to. One of the things we've heard, Jack, over the years is that the project submission form itself is a really great way to sharpen the narrative and the presentation that you'll be making to those funders. So in not just referencing that you submitted it, but the things it is asking about become really powerful ways of sharing your narrative of the project, and a compelling one. I think we've created a form that anticipates sort of some of the, you might call essential information, or those really good things to have, those elevator pitch kind of narrative elements. And so I'd hope that you would utilize what's in there. And if you have attached any forms, those are things that you then would want to include. If a funder was curious about, well, what is that project budget overall, or, things of that nature? Is there a site plan you can share with us? So if those are relevant, then by all means, they really become assets for your organization, and not just you, but the board, the other people who are a part of the project, really to get a lot of people on your team who are able to speak really effectively to that project's essential nature.
Thank you.
And I would just add, Jack, you are talking with the regional organizations that can help businesses, nonprofits with their product or project development, and who can be consulted on how to put together financing, and sometimes are able to be helpful with putting together financing. It depends on the project and the financing.
Okay.
And does that
do we
include
have-
suggesting funding sources? What you were just saying?
It could.
Okay, any other immediate questions before I'm going to reshare?
And Jack, actually, to your last question, I would love to suggest, if you don't already get our newsletter that we send out every other week. We do include, first of all, capacity building and technical assistance webinars that we run here through our business development program, and other programs that could be helpful with helping to take your project to the next step. So those are offered periodically throughout the year, as well as technical assistance is here throughout the year.
And I am sharing the all important last screen, which is going to come to you, I hope, right through the voodoo magic of the internet. These are all the contacts. I will send everyone these slides as soon as we get off the call. I'll download the recording, upload the recording. I will get that to you by later this afternoon. You'll get a copy of the slides. This last slide will be clickable links to all these different emails that you can have at asking us direct questions. And I will get forms downloaded and see if we can upload the PDFs or not, what it looks like when we do that on the website. If not, you certainly can ask us for them. And we are here to help with your submissions. We look forward to seeing them. If you got your project sent to you through an email from our system and you can't find it, no worries. It's really easy to check a box and resend it to you to get you back in there. Remember to save, things like that. Any questions, we're here to help. I think that's all we have. We have fit this into our allotted 45 minutes. It's almost like we've done this webinar before, but it's always a pleasure to do it, and always a pleasure to see all the projects come in. It's really a thing that we look forward to seeing and hearing from you and getting updates.
And we've seen a number of projects over the years. We actually were just talking about this at our last SEDS committee meeting. A number of these SEDS projects over the last decade and a half, we've seen make significant progress, be implemented, be funded. And so, this is a step on the journey to getting it done. And so we look forward to, as Meg said, seeing your projects. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. You'll look for an email from me later this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.